All right, well, I think there's anticipation here at the table. It's exciting. It's night 4. Jesse Waters, what are you looking forward to?
Well, it'll be a continuation of what J.D. Vance laid out last night, and he's a great storyteller. Now, I totally understand why Donald Trump tapped him as VP. He told the story about how when America won the Cold War, you had people like Joe Biden and the ruling class co-author globalism, which was great for American corporations, but just devastating for the American worker. It sent children to serve overseas. It sent jobs overseas, and fentanyl and foreign workers poured in until Donald Trump emerged and just slammed the brakes on all these allies taking advantage of us. And he stood up to China and Mexico. And then he unlocked this stagnant wage scenario. Because at this point in the 21st century, the American people are exhausted trying to fight for abstract ideas like globalism, democracy abroad, and they will fight for their own home, was the message. And they will protect their own families. And who was the great protector last night? His grandmother. And told great stories about how his grandmother, when she caught him hanging out with a guy dealing drugs, said, if I see you hanging out with him one more time, I'm going to run him over with my car. And no one will ever find out.
Yeah.
And then sadly, when the grandmother passed away, they were going through her house and found 19 loaded guns scattered around the house in every single room because she needed to be able to protect her family at all times. And that's what the message of last night was, fighting and protecting. And he talked about the cemetery plot where he will eventually be buried, where 7 generations of Vances are buried. And these were people that fought for their homes, protected their land, and protected the American family. And the spirit in his grandmother and in the Vance family is the same spirit of Donald Trump. His story, J.D., was the American dream, and Donald Trump will fight and almost died to protect the American dream. And you'll see that tonight.
Harold Ford Jr., you've been there every night. And I
With
think
you.
President Trump will block out the sun, right? Everything that's come before tonight, it'll be remembered, but not like this.
No, it was a great, first, it's good to be back with everybody. It was a great opening band, opening act, all of the acts, but we all came to see Prince. We came to see the Allman Brothers. We came to see the Stones. We're going to see them tonight. We can't see Prince, obviously, any longer, but we want to see the real act. And any and everything he says tonight, to Jesse's point, will be remembered. To your point, rather, Dana, will be remembered most. I was pleased, impressed with Senator Vance last night. I got to tell you, if you didn't know we were at a Republican convention, there were parts of the speech that reminded me of Reverend Jesse Jackson's speech at the his speeches at the 84 and 88 convention when he talked about forgotten Americans. He talked about a quilt that America was, how we were really built as a nation, how we're constituted as a nation. You can't help but be impressed with the personal story, the overcoming of personal struggles that he personally has had to overcome, that being Senator Vance and his family. I was touching to hear him talk about his mother and a 10-year anniversary of sobriety on her part. First time I heard a Republican give a speech at a convention like this, no mention of tax cuts, no mention of small business, no mention of empowering communities that way. And we'll see here over the next few weeks and the next few months how that resonates. But without question, tonight is Donald Trump's night, and this convention will be remembered for the unity in what he says this evening.
Judge, I'll let you talk about anything, but I do want to play my favorite part, which was not J.D. Vance's speech. It was Trump's granddaughter's speech.
Kai.
And Kai Trump, I thought she was absolutely spectacular and reminded me of my own grandfather. Watch here.
On Saturday, I was shocked when I heard that he has been shot, and I just wanted to know if he was okay. It was heartbreaking that someone would do that to another person. A lot of people have put my grandpa through hell, and he's still standing. Grandpa, you are such an inspiration, and I love you.
I thought one of the most important parts of what she said that touched me, and you could hear the audience react, was when she said, he's just like any other grandpa. He sneaks us candy and soda when our parents aren't looking.
Yeah, and like any other grandma, too. The truth is that I think she touched the audience. Kai did. She wanted to speak. I love the way Don Jr. introduced her. You know, he didn't expect that he was going to be introducing his daughter, Kai. And she got up there. She wrote that speech. There's no question. It was from the heart. It was genuine. The audience could tell. And he is definitely the guy who would call her at class and talk about golf, and she would say, Dad, Grandpa, I'm in class. And he tried to get into my head, but I'm a Trump too, and I wouldn't let him. You know, that
was the line.
That was a great line. And, you know, the Trump family, and I think she talked about America being Trump strong also. They have a family that they've protected from the onslaught that has happened from the left. But these people are strong. They're as strong as you get. And tonight, we're going to see the icing on the cake. We're going to see Donald Trump come out and basically have complete control of the Republican Party. MAGA is the platform. There isn't a rhino in sight. He's going to plead for national unity on a night where the theme is to make America strong again. And that's why you've got Dana White and you've got Hulk Hogan and some of the other people. You know, and I agree with Jesse, with J.D. Vance. I loved hearing about Mau Mau. I think he called her Mau Mau. But I also loved when he talked about his mom and 10 years sober. And so many Americans can relate to that because of drugs and addiction and overdoses and poisonings. I mean, that is a passion of his, and he's going to address it. And I saw the mother of the young boy who was killed by fentanyl. And as soon as she said, we've got to declare them terrorist organization, it was almost as though there was a rocket under J.D. And he just jumped up. You know they're going to be dealing with the drug problem in this country, which the Biden administration has basically ignored at the border. Now, you know, the Dems, they can't stop talking about the contrast between Biden and Trump, but we'll see tonight who the strong person is. We'll see tonight that he is bigger than the Democrats. It'll be more than just words. He's not going to attack the Democrats. And believe me, in terms of his own personal grievances, he's got many of them, but he's going to prove them wrong. He'll make them eat their words. He's ripped up his speech. It'll be a speech of unity.
And it's not just a speech, but the entire convention has been produced in a way to build up to this moment. And then it's got a lot of different types of appeal for people if you look at the guest list.
Yeah, on one hand, you look at, okay, so you got Hulk Hogan, you got Dana White, you got Kid Rock. This is not a party, it's a pirate ship. You know, everybody's invited on that ship as long as you're on the team and you fight. These are all fighters. It's like the Wild Bunch meeting the Dirty Dozen. And you look at the Dems and it's like You've Got Mail meets Pretty in Pink, soft and sad. I look at tonight's speech with hope that it isn't just about strength, power, and control. You know, Trump's been successful all of his life. And with that kind of life, it's really easy to believe that you're the center of the universe, the director of this movie called Life, and then on a Saturday you get shot. So you realize suddenly you're not the director, you're the actor. There's a larger force authoring events, and it's not you. And I think with that comes humility. And life is not in your control. You may think it is, but that belongs to something else. So when you survive a shooting, it's the universe telling you there must be something more in store for you, and it's beyond your control. You didn't choose the fate chose you. It's interesting how the universe is pointing Trump in one direction and pointing Biden in another. And you can feel that, right? And the fact that Trump survived is both humbling and reminds you of a new role that I hope he decides to take. You know, they asked him who he wanted to face in the election, and he said he didn't care. And I believe that, because I think he's like, it's out of my hands. Que sera, sera, what will be, and that's Trump.
It's going to be a great night, and we will all...
I didn't say anything about Vance, but I just wanted to add, I saw him speak eloquently about that plot of land where he was going to have his family buried. And then I saw Alex Wagner at MSNBC attribute that to white supremacy. The idea of spending an eternity with your family on your own plot is a sign of white nationalism, the kind that J.D. Vance would impose on others.
Wow.
This shows you how far identity politics can poison a mind, that she expects DEI to go with you when you DIE. That where you choose to bury, to lie in eternity somehow has to answer to identity politics is disgusting.
And there's more of that coming up, and you'll see throughout this show.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.